Here are top 5 monsters I think have the highest chance to return to Wild's expansion based on solely sensible predictions, along with the airborne theme of Ascendance. This list will not include Kezu nor Crimson-Nerscylla, because I have already made a video for this too and what their appearances in Ascendance could bring apart from them alone. Cough cough, shrouded hatchlings. The semi-confirmed 4. I know I just said this list will include 5 monsters in total, but if that was entirely true, this video would be pretty short and kind of pointless. With monsters like Gormagala and, well, the Wrath duo being in the game, it's inevitable to think that the Metal Rouse, along with Shadaro and Teodor Gormagala, won't be in the game, especially referencing past games where they've all reappeared alongside their original counterparts since their official debut. The Metal Rouse are 100% returning as I just said, while Azor-Rathlos and Pete Rathian are most likely not, considering they weren't Rise, but in place for them was Apex Rathian and Apex Rathalos. In Wilds, we have Guardian Rathalos, yet no Guardian Rathian, which is possibly in place for those two yet again. Kinda hoped we ended up getting a Guardian Rathian just so she wouldn't have been left out, but we'll see in the upcoming trailers for more information if that turns out differently or not. The Metal Rafts have always been extremely noticeably different in terms of attack and design, so I'm curious to see if there is going to be any more changes for them in Wilds this time around. If there isn't much changes apart from a couple physical designs, I'm hoping, praying to Capcom that they give Silver Rathalos and Gold Rathian a bond to move, similar to what Teostra and Lunastra had in Iceborne. I feel like a little detail like that would satisfy a ton of people and make them worthy of actually entertaining their return. I know some people are like, oh, it's the Metal Rafts again, that's cool I guess, but Wilds is a perfect opportunity to give them something to share that will be memorable for fans and transferable to future games that Capcom decides to include both of them in. Kiara Gore and Shagar Magala are bound to appear no matter what. Gormagala has returned to Wilds after just reappearing in Sunbreak, and we were finally given an official classification, Demi-Elder, which was already the first sign hinting of Shagar's return. I also kept seeing a few posts on Reddit and Facebook where people featured photos of Gormagala with the underlayer of gold scales, but I don't think this is true because I personally don't remember seeing any gold scale layering after finding the original and tempered version. Either it's very rare, a lighting issue in some pictures, or even just solely photo editing for clicks and likes. I don't think at least in Wilds, Gormagala features a gold layering as of now, similar to its first appearance in Monster Hunter 4. Apart from these obvious arrows pointing towards Shagar's return, the same applies for Teodat, who will most likely will return. I'm curious to see what they're going to change about him and how chaotic he will be towards the ecosystem, considering he's very insane. For a brief summary, chaotic Magala usually happens when a Gormagala is disrupted during its molting process via either natural selection or already full-grown Shagaros. These monsters are very territorial after all. Rusted Kushala Daora. Oh, great. Kushala. Again. My second most probable monster returning is Rusted Kushala Daora. I mean, it makes sense because Kushala is back again, right? Not necessarily. We haven't seen Rusted Kushala Daora since 4U, and even though the regular Kushala has been in every game I think since 4U, Rusted was absent. I don't hate Kushala, and I honestly don't think anyone else does. It just gets very repetitive to a point where I'm just wondering, can we get something else for a change? Just once? Rusted Kushala Daora is that change. I know it's not a huge change, or even a small change, especially when Rusted is just practically the same as the original, just more grounded and tougher, at least from what I've read and heard. But it could work. We don't know if Kushala will be the same old Kushala. I'm sure its fight is going to be noticeably tweaked from past games that they've done before, so I don't see why they couldn't do the same for Rusted as well. Seeing Kushala in the trailer was a little underwhelming for me at first, but I'm sure it's going to have a kicker for the Wilds expansion. I'm hoping we get Rusted simply because it won't be as repetitive as just adding Kushala by itself yet again, but rather include an updated unique fight that has noticeably improvements other than just harder skin and stronger attacks. If Rusted doesn't make an epic comeback, let alone any comeback at all, I'm still hoping for maybe a new Kushala variant that will make people actually enjoy seeing its return rather than be underwhelmed and a little disappointed at the repetitiveness of an elder like Kushala when there's plenty of others who haven't seen a game in ages. And yes, I forgot to mention Rusted Kushala Daora was actually an Iceborne, but as an Easter egg, so maybe Wilds will do the same? Yama Tsukami. By far my favorite Elder Dragon, Yama Tsukami is a floating and living ecosystem that was introduced in Monster Hunter 2. Unfortunately, it's been years since this Elder has returned to a mainline game until now. Well, not actually, but most likely. The whole theme of this expansion is literally floating islands and a story driven throughout the clouds of the Forbidden Lands. This expansion is a perfect opportunity to reintroduce an elder like Yama Tsukami, which will most likely get its own arena along with it. Hoping that is. Not to mention this monster is pretty disturbing. For some reason they give it human-like molars, so you can just imagine what that would look like during a heavy thunderstorm, similar to Stories 3, but with more realistic graphics. Yama Tsukami's addition to the game will also most likely bring Great Thunderbuds to the small monster roster, which will mark the second game ever to include Great Thunderbuds as a small monster, excluding spin-offs, the first game being Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate. I have a feeling Yama might also return simply because his cephalopod-like skeleton is already in the game, New Udra and Zuo, so I don't see why they wouldn't expand on that opportunity and add Yama to the roster as well. Another reason why I think Yama Tsukami has a high possible chance to return, even if it's actually pretty relevant since story games have a different team working on them. As we know, Lao Shenlong made an appearance in Stories 3 as a landmark. I guess you can call it that. Months after this, it was revealed to us that Lao Shenlong is going to be reappearing in Wilds, so assuming the team shares ideas, it's possible that we might also see Yama Tsukami since he made his appearance in Stories 3 pretty memorable, as an elder roaming over Terracon, and also halfway through the story as a feral boss. Out of all the monsters I want to return based on themes and just sensible analysis, I'm really hoping we see Crimson-Nerscylla and Yama Tsukami the most. By far, these two returning monsters make me genuinely curious to see how they're going to be announced and portrayed ecology-wise, and what their updated movesets will look like. I'm also praying if Yama gets announced, that his intro trailer is actually absolutely terrifying. Whether it is storming and the lightning just reveals an enormous mouth with human-like teeth behind you, or us following a great thunderbug into a dark, unseeable area where it enters the mouth of a Yama Tsukami, I'm going to be hyped either way. Valstrax is by far the monster I've seen brought up the most in terms of possible returning monsters since Ascendance was announced. It makes the most sense for 3 rationales. He's a flying comet Elder Dragon, possibly being put into Lotell mechanics focused on airborne arenas. The expansion will focus on Elder Dragons, not entirely, but a lot. And while Valstrax is an Elder Dragon, finally, one new monster has been revealed to us so far that looks similar to Valstrax in some ways, with a close related skeleton and body shape. I've also seen a ton of comments mentioning that this new monster is the product of both Valstrax and Torpedo, which I thought was hilarious. I mean, yeah, I see the similarities in color resemblance as well, so who knows, we may see Torpedo as well in Ascendance. We just had Valstrax and Rise, well, a new variant, I guess, Crimson-Nerscylla Valstrax, along with a Risen form that went nuts. So I wouldn't mind if he misses Wilds, but I still would love to see what this Elder flagship would look like in a game like Wilds, and how it would interact with neighboring monsters ecology-wise. If it's a theme, he's probably going to be fastest monster in Wilds roster, and I'm assuming his terrifying ambush ability is going to return. Not that I'm ready for that move ever again. Apart from the Sky Comet Dragon possibly coming to Wilds, my final monster for this list would absolutely dominate the expansion with its aerial assault, sheer weight, and heart so big it compares to Malon's. Duramboros. This brew is unironically a perfect addition to Wilds, and honestly would be such a fun fight. I know many people are hoping and speculating to see elders like Dalamadur, White Fatalis, and or Crimson Fatalis, but that will most likely be near the final updates for the game, so focusing on monsters that will most likely be added basic expansion, I'm going to throw a wild card here and say this absolute unit will return and just be helicoptering around everywhere in the Skybound Eyrie. Duramboros is a brute Riven introduced in the 3rd generation monster and was indeed a memorable monster for all veteran hunters. Resembling pretty much a mountain, these monsters were herbivores, hence the moss and mushrooms growing on their backs. One of the neat details I've noticed after replaying through 3 Ultimate recently. Fight-wise, this monster is very likable, and as a Hammermane, this is one of the few monsters where it can actually sever, not really, more just like break, its tail off and carve for some items. Not once, but twice. Now, of course, to the new hunter's eye, this monster seems very grounded, which is true, very true, until boom! This guy starts moving like a blade and spins into air flying while you're just sitting there waiting total annihilation. I also would love to see a turf war between Duramboros and Uthduna or Arkfeld. I'm just imagining either one of them grabbing Duramboros and it just spins until they fly off towards a direction, either landing in the water or a trap. Duramboros is definitely one of my favorites from 3 along with Global, so hoping they didn't forget about this monster and its unfathomable ability to go airborne. There's a chance we may see the return of this monster monstrosity, either the Scarlet Forest and or the Skybound Eyrie. Those are currently my top 5 monsters, or top 9, that I personally think to have a high chance of returning to Ascendance solely based on an expansion theme and probable choices that the monster team may pick. In a few months or so, I hope to see more information, or at least another trailer for Ascendance that will reveal or hint at a returning monster that is not an Elder Dragon, just so we can get a better understanding of what else they'll be focusing upon. I assume we'll be getting Apex versions for some monsters as well. The Apex is from 4U, not Monster Hunter Rise, so I might end up making a video about what possible Apexes we may get in the expansion. Anyways, thank you for watching. My next video will be one of my other fan-made subspecies or variants for an existing Elder Dragon, so I'll be looking out for that video next. Thank you for watching. Happy hunting.